Welcome to the channel. This is going to be my review slash opinion on various types of bird feeders and what I would suggest for you. Um, I originally started feeding blue jays just by throwing shelled peanuts on the ground, and then became a race between the birds, the blue jays, and the squirrels to see who would grab the peanuts first, with the squirrels actually often winning. Um, So I decided that I would, now when I'm doing it again for the first time in a number of years, I decided to maybe get a little bit more, if you could say, professional about it, or more, do something more than just throw shells on the ground or put them on a pie plate on a windowsill or something like that. Um, so I happened across this store called Nature's Nest in Lawnsborough, Ontario, which is on Highway 4. Um, Anytime I'm in the area, which I am often, I like to stop at this store because they have some really good people in there and some good products. So I would highly recommend this store. Anyways, so I decided when I got back into bird feeding to get away from just throwing stuff on the ground. And after talking to the lady in the store, I went towards this product, which is called Aspects. It's not the thistle tube, sorry. Go back. It's just, well, they have various sizes of them. There's medium, quick clean, and large. I started off with the large, but it's a good product. I actually bought another one recently, so it's from a company called Aspect, and I don't know if you can see that or not. It's on the screen as well as here. Um, Good product. It actually comes with a lifetime warranty, which is pretty good. Why you might think, do you need a lifetime warranty on a bird feeder? It's because of plastic. Plastic and UV rays from the sun don't get along very well. So over the time, it can get brittle and crack. They do sell models with the little purchase here, being in plastic, which again won't take kindly to being in the sun all the time. So I bought something that's got a big warranty on it. Now, a lot of the other ones do, but I just like these. They're well constructed. They even come with little rubber caps you can put over the metal or plastic perches, and it gives the birds a little bit more better grip. But these ones are good. They come with a top, and to fill it, you just pull the top, and then you can fill it, which is easy. And then to clean it, there's these two buttons on the bottom. You just pull them, and the bottom is there, so you can get a brush in there or you can empty it out. So very good. The other part is they come on the bottom with a screw or threaded screw. So the first one I bought, I just bought a 6 foot steel pole and screwed it in, and it's great. They also come with a number of accessories, and I don't know if I can show them to you, but there's a dome, and you just push it over, lay it over the top, and then they have a tray for the birds. Because the one thing with this, when I went with this, so I put one out, and for a while I didn't see anything, and then suddenly I saw what you see here, which is golden finches appearing. Uh, and there was quite a few of them, and they seemed to be happy. I was feeding them sunflower seed hearts. Those are basically just the internals of a sunflower seed. My brother recommended that to me because if you just put out the normal black oil sunflower seeds, which are good, the birds basically crack the shell, take the heart out of the shell, and then spit the rest on the ground. So you end up with all kinds of um, shells on the ground. So the hearts are more expensive, but they are a little cleaner to do it. Anyways, when I put this up, I did get a bunch of finches, which I like, and they're very pretty birds to watch at. And then eventually I got blue jays showing up. So the blue jays, they were feeding on the hearts as well, and the only problem with for them was that they had a little bit of trouble on these posts perching. So then I went and bought one of these, which is what I talked about for the accessories, which is just a tray, and that allows the blue jays to sit on the tray and feed out of all the holes here. So, and the other little birds can be here and they will eat the seeds that are here. So that's one of the accessories that's worthwhile. Um, let's see if there's a dome listed here. That was the other accessory. No, I don't see the dome. But it's a plastic dome that just goes over the top, and it protects the birds in the rain and snow, and it's a worthwhile accessory. So I went with this. It seemed to be doing good. That's great. Liked it. Um, but again, the Blue Jays. I didn't have the Bigfoot, whatever it is, the Bigfoot tray right away. So again, the Blue Jays would struggle. So I went back to the store and bought one of these, which is a platform feeder from a company called Birds Choice. I would highly recommend them as a product because it comes with a screen in the bottom here, and then these nylon ropes to hang it on a hook. And it's made of recycled plastic, which is really good. You can buy these, and they're made in wood, which is fine, but I prefer the environment and doing recycles. So you just lay seeds in there, and you will then hang it, and the birds. I think there's an example here to show you. Yeah, so there's this another one platform feeder, and the birds will just come and sit in here and eat, and it works really well. So for my blue jays, which is the primary bird I'm trying to attract, I just filled this full of um, shelled peanuts, which is good. The problem was I've had it described, or somebody described to me, that the blue jays are basically like squirrels. They will take the shelled peanuts and go hide them someplace to stock up for the winter. So the buggers would come in and strip me of, in like a couple of hours, they would take all the peanuts in the shell. So, okay, that was good. I was feeding them, but I wasn't getting much in the way of being able to watch them, which is some of the uh, some of the joy in doing this. So I went back and told that to the store owner, and she offered some suggestions. One of the suggestions was this feeder, Wild Birds of Canada, well made, everything like that. You can see the peanuts go in. And it worked because the blue jays would come and they couldn't just grab the peanut and fly away. They had to actually maneuver the peanuts around to get them out through the little holes in the grid structure here. So you got to watch them for a bit longer. The only problem is, if I was going to make some suggestions to the Wild Birds of Canada, make your holes a little bit bigger, because peanuts aren't at both ends are not exactly the same size. So you'll get one end bigger than the other. So if the peanut was small enough, the blue jays would work away and they would get the peanut out through the holes. But often there were peanuts in there that one end was too big to come out the hole, so that you would see, it was kind of comical. You would see the blue jay yanking away on the peanut, trying to get it out through the hole, and couldn't. So eventually they would just sort of crack the end of the peanut, take out the nut, and leave them. So you would end up this thing full of half peanuts. So you couldn't necessarily just push them back into the feeder, because they would never get out through the holes. So I took it back. Well, I went back and talked to the owner again, and she said, just bring it back. Which I was like, well, I've used it. She said, I don't care, bring it back. So she actually, I didn't even have it with me, and she gave me store credit at that right on the spot, because I was buying some food, and I took it back. I would still recommend it. I would just say to the manufacturer, maybe make your holes a little bit bigger. So then the next step for it was, she suggested this, which is an interesting, it's just a wire loop. And hang on, I've got one here because I'm not using shelled peanuts at the moment. But it's just a wire loop. And how that works is you can unhook it at the top here, and then you just put the peanuts in the one or the other end. You just have to hold on to it, because otherwise it's like a slinky, it goes back, and then you just put it up. But it's made of very soft wire, so you can see not a lot of effort on the part of the blue jays to pull a peanut out through that wiring because it's very light. And you can see they're not expensive. They're only 26 bucks. You might be able to get them cheaper. But that's basically, I was hanging this up and the Blue Jays would come along and they could easily or relatively easily get the peanuts out to the wire mesh. So I would recommend that if you want something to feed um, Blue Jays with. The other thing is, in if you want to stop putting peanuts out, you can actually put suet balls into it and use it as a suet ball feeder. So that's kind of nice. Um, so going forward, I was pretty happy with that. I did buy one other feeder that I don't see. Now this is another interesting feeder. It has this guard at the top. I'll just click on it, let it adjust. Come on. My watch is just telling me something. Um, yeah, it's not gonna. There it is. So this silver part is a sleeve that you can lower by this. It's just got a little peg here that you hook it on. You can lower it, and it can then be used to be a suet ball feeder because they can poke in through the holes. Otherwise, you can fill it with peanuts, and the holes are big enough that they can get the peanuts out fairly easy. So again, it's a good option for a it's called a peanut in the shell suet ball feeder. So the holes are big enough. It actually, I've seen people using it and it works quite well. So again, something that I would recommend. There is one other feeder that I actually bought that is a peanut feeder, and I don't see a picture of it here. But again, it's one that has bigger holes than this thing here, and the birds, again, they have to spend some time shifting stuff around to get the peanut out, but that allows you to enjoy watching them work away because the Blue Jays are very intelligent and they uh, will work away at things. So I also have bought one of these because they're cheaper than the Aspect and they're in pretty good shape. Again, it's a tube feeder. So tube feeders are great for all birds. There's not a particular. This is just by what bird feeder. I think it's another Canadian company. Um, again, it's got nice holes. It's got decent purchase for the birds. You fill it through the top. There's no at the bottom. I think you can maybe take the tube out to clean it, but that's one of the things. There's no quick clean at the bottom, but it's a reasonably priced and good quality feeder. The plastic tube is much thinner than the Aspect, which is probably the difference in price. But I also bought one of these, and it works quite well. So I just filled it up. Um, so again, there's another option for a bird feeder. But like I say, the tube feeders are great. These Aspect ones are fantastic. These other brand, there's two or three other brands. You get the squirrel protection brand if you have problems with squirrels. So far, I haven't. So I haven't bought one of them because they tend to be a little bit more expensive. But any of the tube feeders are good. You can do the Niger seeds feeders. I'm not using Niger seeds, so I don't bother doing it. I'm right now mostly attracting finches like these guys, and I'm using the Aspect feeders. So again, they have multiple holes. They got nice little pegs for the bird, easy to clean at the bottom with the quick clean, easy to fill at the top just by popping off the lid. So I really like these Aspect ones. Um, yeah, so tube feeders really good. Platforms feeders are good. The one exception for platform feeders are it's now winter. So these are nice. You can just put them in, and some of the birds that are little have trouble perching on the tube feeders, they'll just hop into it. The problem is I don't recommend them in the winter time because they fill up with snow. Right now I'm in Midwest Ontario, Canada, and we get a lot of snow in this area. So I would go and I would put seeds in this thing and then hang it up and come back the next morning and all the seeds are buried. So the birds don't know enough to dig down and get them. So I'm constantly having to take them back, empty it out, let the seeds dry, putting the seeds back in and doing it. So if there's no snow, it's a good choice. But other than that, I don't recommend or platform feeders in the wintertime. It's only in the wintertime. In the summertime, so spring and fall, when you also need to feed the birds, they're great. The birds love it. And you can get various sizes. And again, these ones are made of not wood, but recycled plastic and milk jugs, which I would, again, Bird's Choice. As a manufacturer, I really like Bird's Choice. I really like Aspect. Um, but they're also a very handy one. So talking about other feeders in general, one of the things that I don't recommend in the wintertime is anything like this, which has these gravity feeders, which have this small hole at the bottom. I actually have one here. They're great in the fall and the spring, but I don't know if you can see it very well, but they have these little holes here at the bottom. There, I got my finger in it. And you take off the top quite easy, fill it full of sunflower seeds is what I use this for. And as the birds pull the seeds out the bottom, then it just gradually comes down. The problem is this section of the tray gets full of snow and ice, and it buries the little holes at the bottom here, so it becomes pretty useless. Otherwise, like I don't want to have to spend a huge amount of time on maintenance, but you have to go out and you have to clean these tray sections here out because it's full of either frozen seeds that they haven't got to or ice and snow. And I end up taking these in and letting them sit inside for a bit so they melt and then cleaning the tray out. So it's a lot more work than I really want to do. Gravity feeders are great in the spring and in the fall, but I don't recommend them for the winter time. And other than the Aspect 2 feeders, probably my favorite um, feeder are these ones from Bird's Choice again. They're calling them hopper because what they do is they have, um, I don't know if you can really see it well, but they have the mesh at the bottom to let drainage go. But why I like them is they have a roof to protect the birds. I get finches coming in and sitting in here and they're happy. Um, there's a type of one that there is called a fly through. So it usually has a roof and then no walls or anything, and the birds fly in, grab seeds, eat whatever, and then fly out again. That's my favorite type of feeder. Um, Unfortunately, the store Nature's Nest doesn't have a lot of them in stock because they sell out very quickly. What I've done is take the hopper feeders. So these are good. Hopper feeders are good. They also have the problem though of down here at the bottom. I don't have one to show you. But the sections here, like right there is the opening or just below it. And they can get this section down here can get full of ice and snow and frozen seeds. So then the hopper is blocked. So that's why great for spring and summer, not so great for winter. But what you can do is you can see here the line. So they use two plastic sheets in a V like that, two little pieces of plexiglass. So you fill in the seeds at the top and it gradually gets down to the V as the birds take the feed out from the bottom. So you can convert these into fly-throughs, which is what I've done for all my hoppers again, because I don't want to spend a lot of time having to dig the snow and frozen seeds and take them in and let them thaw overnight or whatever. So you can pull the lid up and you can just pull the little plastic sheet out, and now it becomes a fly-through. So then the birds so here's how it's got the wire to hang it. You just take the lid off. The wire actually goes through the lid and down to the side, so it's all one unit. You don't have to worry about it falling apart. But you can pull these plastic sheets out, and it becomes a fly through. And the fly through feeders are my favorite. Oops, damn, let's close that. But the reason I like the reason I like, just going back to Nature's Nest, the reason I like oops, that's feeders. The fly through is that the birds can use it to seek shelter. Now here the standard fly through, the sides are open, and most of the fly throughs that I've seen from these guys, Bird's Choice, also have the sides open, which is okay. It's better than nothing for shelter from the birds, but I find by pulling out using these guys, the hopper feeders, and then pulling the plastic out, it gives the sides here give a little bit more shelter to the birds. So I'll go out and I'll see two or three finches sitting in here happily eating away, and the snow is blowing and everything else. So I would say myself, my number one choice for a bird feeder is a fly-through feeder. Um, and this, when it gets back to the spring, when there's no snow to worry about, I'll put the pieces of plexi back in and go back to being a hopper feeder, because a hopper feeder does a good job in that you fill it up and just leave it until it's empty and the birds pull the seeds out through the bottom, and it gradually gravity takes over and pulls the seeds down. But those are my that's my favorite fly throughs. Now this fly through is very expensive. I just bought basically one of these and pulled the little plexiglass things out and turned it into a fly through, and that's a great feeder for the birds. They love it. They get a bit of shelter from it, and I just take a handful of oops, what are you doing here? Yeah, I just take a handful of seed and put it here, and they're great. They love it. They'll sit there and chomp away, and you get to watch them while they sit there. I've seen this medium one. I've seen six finches all crowded together in it on a blustery day, eating away. So they love it. Okay. So just to recycle back again, the Aspect tube feeders, I love them. They're fantastic. They're well built, well warranted, easy to clean, easy to maintain, good quality. They're great. Um, these small Gravity Perky Pet's a good brand. It's a gravity feeder. I just don't recommend them in the wintertime because the tray down at the bottom, even though it's great, the birds can sit there. Rapidly, the snow builds up, and when the snow builds up, they can't get to any of the seeds inside them. So they're a good feeder for fall and spring, but they suck in the wintertime. Sorry. Um, this is also an interesting feeder I was looking at. It's a little house. It's got a roof. It's got the sides here, got good grips, got a bit of a platform. So that is actually again, it's made of recycled material, but that is a good feeder too. Again, it's more like a tube feeder, but it comes with a top on it and a feed tray. Now, some people say don't get the feed trays because starlings will get on it, because starlings can't really sit on the perches. They're too big and clumsy. So if you put a feed tray there, then the starlings will come. So far, I have not had to worry about that, even though I got three of these Aspect feeders of different sizes, and I put a tray on the bottom of it, and I've seen starlings, but I use safflower seeds to get rid of them, and it seems to have worked. But I haven't seen them sitting there in any great numbers, stealing the food from the other little birds. But yeah. So, like I said, my primary choice is a fly-through feeder, and what I've been doing is basically taking these hopper feeders and converting them into fly-through by pulling out the plastic or um, there you can see the poly whatever glass, pulling them off and making them fly through because the birds really seem to like the extra shelter they can get feeding. So that's my first choice. For a tube feeder, tube feeders are great for different birds. You can see I've had like one of this, like I put a tube feeder out and had that many birds sitting at it. Every single perch is occupied. Again, it's Aspect. I really recommend the brand. Don't recommend these little gravity feeders or any gravity feeder for that matter, or hopper feeder in the wintertime. It's just a lot of maintenance to keep the little tray at the bottom clear of snow. Um, Hanging tray is good again in the spring and fall, not so good in the winter because it's high maintenance. You have to constantly scoop out the snow. You don't want the seeds getting wet, so you end up having to dry the seeds and put it back in. It's just a lot of work. Even though they are a popular platform for the birds, they do like to get there, and you can get a lot of them. This is a very good peanut feeder because it's cheap, and this ring is easy for the blue jays to get the peanuts out if you want to be um, feed peanuts to blue jays, which I do. And it's also a suet ball feeder, which is also very effective product. But again, you can see there's a lot of different feeders here. They're all good qualities. The owner or the people that work there know a lot and can help you out. They do sell online. Um, but that's kind of my recommendation for feeders. I do have a suet hanger and I do put out suet for the birds, and I have seen woodpecker there a few times. I've also seen starlings going at it, but I've seen woodpeckers going for the suet and the blue jays occasionally, but that's about it. So here they sell suet. This garden friendly stuff is pretty good. This is my favorite that I buy. When they have it in stock, it sells out like hotcakes here, but it's insect and nuts. So it actually has nuts and stuff in it. So it has nuts, insects, and suet. So woodpeckers love these things. So they have grubs in here, and which is exactly what woodpeckers are trying to get out of the trees is grubs. So these Mill Creek Premium Suet insect and nut, they're fantastic. The woodpeckers seem to go for them, and even the blue jays that I've seen going after suet like these, as opposed to some of these other types, which are like, I mean, they're still good, but so they have like four different here, mixed seeds, cherry, peanut, fruit, and nut. They're all good, but I see the woodpeckers, like I have them in two different of those little hanging feeders, and I have just going back here, bird feeders, seed, sorry. I have a couple of these. Well, actually, I have one of these hangers, and then I have a hopper feeder I've converted that has a cage on either end. And I've put the two types, just the regular suet and then the grub-filled suet. And you see the woodpeckers going after the grub-filled more so than anything else. Okay, and finally, just to go in here, this site has various types of uh, suet, but they also have bags of mix that they make up, and it's pretty good. So they have different types: Bird's Delight, Sweet Tweet, Finch's Feast. I buy a lot of this stuff because I get a lot of finches, and it's very very tiny seeds, and I put this in the hopper, the pipe tube feeders, and the you see the finches going for it. They love it. No grow blend is stuff so that when it falls on the ground, it won't germinate and you'll get weird looking plants coming out of your grass. Anti-squirrel. What that means is there is safflower seeds. Cardinals love safflower seeds. Most of the other birds will eat them, but squirrels don't like it and starlings don't like them. So typically you'll find a lot of safflower seed in a mix like this, which is again, it's they have different size bags you can get, but it's so cardinals, finches, indigo buntings, mourning doves, juncos, grosbeaks, juncos and grosbeaks. Other than the finches is the main birds that I see around it, but they have safflower mixed into it, so that's it gets squirrel. It's got kind of a bitter taste apparently. I've never eaten them, but the squirrels don't like it and the starlings don't like it. So what I typically buy, and there's the sunflower hearts, and they are a bit more pricey. 11.50 is a small 5 pound bag, but the birds do like it, and you get less wasted seed. Here's black oil. So for the same size bag, it's 6.25 as opposed to 11.50. So the same 5 pound bag is 6.25, so much cheaper. But that's because they got shells on them, and that somebody had to do it. Uh, now that so I used to get peanuts in the shell bags from them. They have different sizes of those, and the blue jays used to go clean me out constantly with those things. I'm not in the winter putting these out as much because I'm not seeing as many blue jays as I used to see before, and I've left one of those looped hangers there, and it's not getting used. So what I'm doing is I buy these raw red peanuts and I add them to whatever else I'm putting out. And the blue jays that come along will pick all the peanuts out and run away with those. But my favorite is Bird's Delight. Or Sweet Tweet is good too, but I buy Bird's Delight, bags of Bird's Delight, and I mix in more peanuts with them, and then I throw in some safflower seeds as well to try to keep the starlings at bay. So again, that's the bird related stuff. They have all kinds of stuff like natural dog food and Oriole feeders and garden ornaments and things like that. They have a lot of like interior and outside decoration stuff, but I'm only interested in the bird feeders. So that's their, oops, that was their hours. They're not open on Sundays. They're only open till 3 on Saturday. Again, they're on Highway 4, but they have a lot of interesting stuff. Like you can see these bells and kitties' toys and outside stuff and tables and bird baths and yada, yada, yada. Hats and socks and lots of other little goodies, but I'm only interested in feeders and seed right now. So that's it. I hope that will help you make a determination. Again, a fly-through feeder or taking a hopper and removing the pieces of plastic and converting it to a fly-through hopper, I think is the best option here in the wintertime, which is what's happening now. And avoid these type of gravity feeders with little tiny spots on the bottom or slots on the bottom. They just plug up in the wintertime. It's too much. It's a pain in the ass to have to keep them clean. So I would go then next to some kind of tube feeder, which is like this square one, or these various types of. I just got to clear the filter and go to bird feeders again. These various types of tube feeders. Again, this brand is good, and the aspects are very very good. And then tray hanging is a good option for the birds that don't like having to use the tube feeders. I find they're worthwhile, except for they take a lot of work because they fill up with snow. So there you go. That's my point. And again, this wire is a cheap way of feeding blue jays whole shelled peanuts. There's some other options here. Mesh peanut. This one might be good too because the holes look to be, well, they look smaller. So that's the problem. This one, though it's good quality and everything, the holes are too small. So, and then suet feeders, they're fine. You just need the little cages. The only thing that they do recommend, there's some with a little piece of plastic that extends down underneath, and that's the woodpeckers, and I've seen them doing it because the one hanger that I have's got it. They brace their tail against that plastic part that hangs down, and it gives them a bit more stability when feeding. So that's another thing to keep in mind. All right, well, that's it, and happy feeding the birds. It's a worthwhile endeavor, and hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Thanks.